Hey everyone, and welcome to week 8 of The Artist's Way in my bullet journal. This week was all about recovering a sense of strength, and I have to say I loved the exercises this week. I found them very intuitive, very straightforward, a lot of fun, and very helpful as well. I was hoping to do more with the theme and the decoration in my bullet journal this week, but unfortunately I ran out of time, even though my husband and I were on a staycation for the week, and I should have had more time than usual. I had tons of motivation for the week, but the last weekend before I had to go back to work, my husband and I just had a bunch of things that we had on the agenda, and I didn't work on the Artist's Way program or the bullet journal for that entire weekend, which is very uncharacteristic of me. Usually I'm a little bit ahead, but instead this time I fell a day or two behind. I'm all caught up now, so let's just go ahead and start the walkthrough. Here we are with the title page, week 8 of The Artist's Way in my bullet journal. The bullet journal I'm using is the Leuchtturm 1917 A5 dotted notebook, and we are already on page 118, if you can believe that. Week 8 was all about recovering a sense of strength. I decided to do a planet theme, and I was hoping not to have the pages this bare and perhaps do a little bit more by way of decoration, but I ran out of time because we were on a staycation this week and I didn't want to spend a whole lot of time with my head buried in the bullet journal. There were a lot of key concepts for the week, and I'm not going to go through them all, but the main thing that I took out of this week was that baby steps can lead to big changes. The main point of this week was to recognize and recover that inner artistic strength and start moving forward by taking action. We've gone back to this spread because this is the second week in a row that I've forgotten to show it at the beginning of the walkthrough. You can see here that week 8 is all about recovering a sense of strength, and you can also see that I'm actually really behind with filming videos. I'm already done week 9 by the time I'm filming this, but I loved the exercises in week 8. Here's an update on my mood tracker. Week 8 is depicted here, and there is lots of blue and light blue because this was a wonderful week for me. I was on a staycation with my husband, as I mentioned, so that put me in very good spirits. Here is my morning pages tracker. I did my morning pages every day in week 8, and I also had my artist date on the Tuesday of week 8. The artist date was a little bit difficult this week because my husband was home the entire time, and this is supposed to be a date that you have with yourself, so you're spending time by yourself. What I ended up doing is I ended up taking a longer walk in the morning. I went to look at plants, and I picked up a plant for the home. So I really had a wonderful artist date, and I tried to infuse little bits of artist dates here and there throughout staycation week. So if my husband was working out or if he was taking a nap or whatnot, I would try to do little things for myself here and there. So overall, I had a wonderful week, even though my artist date was a little bit truncated. It wasn't quite 2 hours. I think I spent maybe an hour and a half on my own in one fell swoop, but I had little pockets of time here and there during the week as well where I was able to have a little bit of a sense of creative play. Here we have the tasks for the week, and I ended up loving this week's tasks, and I did them all. This is one of the first tasks, actually. The next 5 pages will be this task here, which is work with 5 affirmations this week. These are affirmations that are contained in the Artist's Way. There was a list of probably about 10 to 15 of them, and we were asked to choose 5, or I guess we could have made up our own, but I did find 5 that really resonated with me. So one of them is I now treat myself and my creativity more gently. So that is depicted on this page here. I have lots more room in the bullet journal, so I'm starting to spread things out a little bit more, which is why I did 1 affirmation on each page. The next 2 affirmations are I now treat myself and my creativity more generously, and I now share my creativity more openly. And again, these pages are ones that I was hoping to come back to and decorate some more, maybe draw some more planets here and there, but I just ran out of time. The last 2 affirmations I worked with this week are I am a good person and a good artist, and also I now allow myself to heal. Early patternings is an exercise that involves sentence stems, and I've really grown to enjoy the sentence stem exercises. They're very easy to do, I find, even though sometimes it can be tricky thinking of something in your life that fits the sentence. But I find that these types of exercises help to bring things up that you may have forgotten about, or perhaps touch on things, thoughts, feelings, emotions that you may not have thought about in a very long time, if ever. So I find these sentence stems extremely helpful, and I find them kind of fun to do. I really like completing sentences. So this exercise, and a lot of them in The Artist's Way actually, there are a lot of sentence stems in this program, I really enjoyed. Goal search was another exercise I found very useful, and there was a very systematic approach of 6 steps to this exercise. On this page here, I've listed out the steps, and then on this page here, I did a blank set of boxes that I later filled out that same week. I've covered up a little bit of the information here because I did list out a specific passive income goal that I'd like to achieve. I flipped the page now because here you can see how I set up that initial page before I had filled it out. Initially, I thought I was going to have 2 or 3 different goals that I wanted to achieve, but when I sat down and really thought about what I wanted to accomplish artistically and what I really wanted to do, there was only one goal that specifically came to mind. It's a very broad and overarching goal, but that is really what I want for myself. So I have these blank pages for the future in case my plans change or whatnot. Here are 2 exercises I didn't think I would love, but then going through them, they were quite cathartic. New Childhood is an exercise that asks you to imagine your perfect childhood. This is your fantasy childhood in a perfect world. So I have a very well-adjusted childhood here that of course I did not have, and I was a bit iffy going through this because in this perfect childhood there were things that happened in my life currently that wouldn't have happened if I had had the perfect childhood. So I was very torn about this exercise. There are a lot of things in this life now that I have that I'm super grateful for and I wouldn't change for anything. This was a very interesting parallel lives type exercise that I found very fascinating, and it drew up a lot of deep emotions and interesting feelings within me. Color schemes was another exercise that I thought, not really gonna love this, I don't really understand where it's going, but when I started it, I found that it was, again, very useful at looking at myself in a different way, giving myself a new perspective on my thoughts and feelings. So this is to imagine yourself as a color, and I ended up writing a lot more than I thought I would when I initially started this exercise. By now you guys probably know that I love lists. So 5 things I am not allowed to do is very similar to an exercise we did in a previous week of The Artist's Way, but this one was a lot of fun because it asked you to draw one of the items. I ended up drawing number 5 on my list, which is live on a private tropical island with Hubs, Truffle, and Lulu. So here we are, the 4 of us. We've got a beautiful palm tree, a nice bright sky, water at our feet, and of course we're standing on sand. Just a lovely island paradise just for us 4. This will never ever happen, but it's fun to dream. We were asked to either list another 20 things that we like to do. They could be the same as before or different from before. I ended up just trying to think of 20 things as though I was doing the exercise for the first time. I didn't look back at the 20 things I named. I think it was in like week 2 or 3 we had done this exercise, but I think a lot of them are similar. There are just a few others that are new, like caring for my houseplants, which is a hobby that I picked up during my journey in The Artist's Way. In addition to listing the 20 things, we were asked to answer a few questions on each of the things. So the questions were, does the item cost money or is it free? Is it expensive or cheap? Do you do this alone or with someone? Is it job related? Is there physical risk involved? Is it fast-paced or slow? And does it involve mind, body, or spirit? So I found that a lot of things that I like to do, I mean, they are free, but there is some cost associated with them. A lot of them, though, are cheap. I don't think I had any expensive thing on here. A lot of the things that I like to do can be done either alone or with someone. So for example, reading books, taking long walks, etc., etc. None of them were job related. None of them involved physical risk. For the most part, they were all slow activities, and most of the activities involved some aspect of mind or spirit. There were only a couple of activities that involved the body. This was a fun exercise. It really made me think about the things that I like to do and why I like to do them. This was another very juicy exercise with a lot in it. The Artist's Way asked us to imagine an ideal day and an ideal day. So this is an ideal day in a perfect world with no limitations, whereas an ideal day is a perfect day in your world as it stands now. So the days were actually very similar for me, and I really like looking at things in this sort of timeline manner. I find it really fits with my brain because I love to plan things and I love to schedule things. So this exercise kind of checked all the boxes for me. I could imagine and dream, but at the same time, it appealed to the realistic and grounded side of me. Those were all of the exercises for week 8. The only one that was on the task list that I didn't point out specifically was to take one aspect from your ideal day and live it, no matter how small. So I actually ended up doing, I think, a number of things on my ideal day list because I was on a staycation and I had lots of time, and I love a lot of the simple things like reading a book or like sitting out on the balcony playing with Lulu and Truffle. So there were a lot of things that I could infuse into my day from that vision of my ideal day. So I did a lot of those. But here we have the week 8 check-in. I talked a bit about my morning pages here. I talked about my artist date, which I've already told you guys about. There was a little bit of synchronicity this week. I haven't been seeing as much synchronicity as I did the week this concept was introduced, but every week a little something happens that I think, okay, this is kind of perfect that it happened. And then in terms of issues significant to recovery, loving the idea of small steps leading to big changes, and the fact that I've already seen the impact of this in my own life prior to doing the Artist's Way. So it's wonderful to look back and see how much progress I've made in a relatively short time. The key for me is really to keep the motivation and momentum going, and I find that my daily routine helps to support that. So I'd love to keep my daily routine as it is for as long as possible, because I find that that really helps me to do all of these little things that move me forward. For staycation week, although it was so much fun and I love that we were able to take that time off, it knocked me out of my routine and I'm still trying to catch up. So this video is a little bit late because of the staycation. I find when I'm in a regular groove, a regular routine, I do take the time to rest, but at the same time I get a lot more done. I realized that my daily routine is a really important part of what helps me to accomplish the things that I have on my list that I want to do, artistically speaking or creatively speaking. That is going to be it for week 8 of the Artist's Way in my bullet journal. I hope you enjoyed this video. I'll be back next week for week 9. I can't believe we are getting so close to the end. I hope you've enjoyed this video and also this entire series. If you've done the Artist's Way program or if you're thinking about doing it, I would love to hear from you down below. Thank you again for watching, and I will see you very soon with the next video in this series. Until then, please take care and bye for now.